Hey girl, hey! Welcome back to another video. It's your girl Jensine, aka Jungle Knobs. Now today we're going to be doing another foundation review. I'm on a roll. We have the Mercier. This is the Flawless Radiance Perfecting Foundation. Let me open up this box and show you what it looks like. So here is what the foundation bottle looks like. I have two shades here. This one is 6W1 Ganache, and this one right here is 6N1 Truffle. So these are some of the deepest shades that they offer. Now I'm just gonna say straight off the bat, they probably don't match me exactly, but we're gonna see what we can come up with. First, let me tell you just a little bit about the foundation. So it retails for $48. So, you know, she's expensive, she's high-end, she's a luxury. And it's supposed to be a luminous liquid foundation with up to 15 hours of hydration, weightless, medium to full coverage. I like that. And it gives a perfectly glowing finish with any light. So I'm just reading this from the Sephora app. Now it does say it's good for oily, dry, combination and oily skin. So that's great. It does have some super crystal clear pearl that's supposed to be a super fine texture with flawless flat surface for a light reflecting effect. Light reflecting. I almost tripped over that. So I like that. You know, typically when I do go with dewy foundations, I do like to use a mattifying primer in my T-zone because that's just where I'm most oily. Now the one that I'll be using today is the CoverGirl Full Spectrum Matte Ambition Foundation. If you guys saw my last video, I love this primer. It's bomb. They also sent in this little box the Mercier. This is their hydrating foundation primer. I want to say I tried this like once last year, but I don't really remember my thoughts on it. So I'm going to be using it and seeing how it pairs with the foundation. So in the box came their little sponge. Mercier now has a sponge, and usually I don't really buy into, you know, these tools because I'm like, okay, you know, I could just go with something cheaper, but I want to try it in the spirit of, you know, trying out this whole line and being open-minded. We're gonna see how this performs. Also, a little side note about this, it does say that it has what do they call it? They call it zero cell technology to ensure minimal product absorption. So I'm all about that, but we'll see, you know, how it fares. Okay, so straight into it. I've got my little mattifying primer right here. I'm gonna put this in my T-zone. You guys know this has like SPF in it, and initially I was like super wary about that, but it hasn't given me you know, any breakouts or anything like that. So I'm really surprised, and I really do feel like it holds back that oil long term, which is surprising because I usually, you know, definitely need an oil touch up or just like, you know, to get rid of that shine. And it was able to hold back oil for like 7 hours. So I'm hoping that it will do the same for this foundation as well. Okay, so this little hydrating primer, it's actually like $38. She's very expensive. So I'm hoping that she's worth it. We'll see. You know, I only tend to use hydrating primers basically in the winter because my skin does get dry here in the Northeast. Even though it's like humid weather, it does get very dry. But I do have to say, so far it feels very, very good on the skin. All right, so now we got the best part. So applying foundation, obviously, and out of these two colors here, I'm gonna go with this one. So look, I know it's not gonna be a match for the exact shade, but I definitely just want to test out how the wear is, you know what I mean? So don't come for me if it's not exactly the correct shade. We know this. I do like, I have to say, the pump looks really fancy. I can always appreciate a good pump in a foundation. Here we go. Okay, so this was like 3 pumps. So this is like definitely my summer shade, but that's okay. I'm gonna use a brush just to spread this out initially because I feel like I get better coverage that way. Oh wow, I actually thought this was gonna be a little bit more coverage. It goes on kind of light, but I'm assuming you can build that up. Okay. I know I look like an Oompa Loompa, okay? But I did use about 7 pumps to bring the foundation from my forehead all the way down to my collarbone. I'm not done yet. I just want to show you guys, it goes on really sheer. They did say that it was medium to full, so I'm a little like concerned about that, but I'm gonna take the sponge now and I'm just gonna like go over and really like pat in some more. I don't know if I like it. I don't know if it's doing that much for me. I feel like it did take off a lot. You see what I mean? It doesn't like blend as well. It's weird. And the sponge is wet. Oh no. Look at that, guys. Okay, abandoning the sponge, abandoning the sponge. I wonder if I use a different one from, what is this? This is from Pure Cosmetics, and see how this looks. Okay, so this sponge actually works nicely. I'm not too fond of the spotty coverage. As you can see, it's like not that much coverage here, but over here it looks fine. And I use a lot of foundation, so I feel like, you know, it should look uniform. It's kind of weird to me. But honestly, on a different note, this makes me miss my summer melanated look. Like, I know I look kind of crazy still, but man, I love being darker. So all in all, I'm just gonna say from the initial putting this on, you know, it doesn't look that bad. Disregard the fact that the color doesn't match exactly. It is a very like light foundation. It's not medium to full like I thought, and I already told you guys like I used a lot because I was trying to make the color look uniform. I wouldn't say that it has any blurring qualities or anything, and it could just be if I use a blurring primer, then that would help it out. But yeah, I'm not really seeing too much of that right now. We'll see. I'm gonna go ahead and add concealer. Today I've got my Too Faced Born This Way. This is in the shade Chestnut, if you're curious. And I'm just gonna put that in all the normal areas, under my eyes, the bridge of my nose, my forehead, my upper lip, and my chin. And I'm going to be blending that out with my makeup sponge. But this foundation shade, doesn't it look like hella highlighted on my face? Okay, so I'm gonna go in with my pressed powder from CoverGirl. The one I'm using to set under my eyes, this one is called Tan Golden. And the funny thing is, when I reviewed this collection, I was like really apprehensive, but I have to say, you know, there are certain products that are hits in this, the full spectrum line, and there are certain ones that are like misses and they just kind of like flopped, you know? Now, doesn't that look so much better? See, with powders, concealers, you can fix anything. So for the sake of making sure that this video is not too long, I'm gonna go ahead, finish up the rest of my makeup on camera, and then I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna talk to you about how I feel about this initially. Like right now, I feel like this looks bomb, despite how weird it looked when we first started. But we'll see, because we don't know how this is gonna hold up. All right, so I finished my makeup. This look is a whole lot of drama. Excuse the dewiness because I did spray my Vitamin Nectar Antioxidant Glow Water from Fresh. This is really good. But yeah, I do look quite dewy now. I will say this, it looks very nice. We're gonna see, you know, how this holds up here. I'm hoping that this foundation doesn't transfer as much because I will be going outside. I'm gonna put on all my winter clothes and I don't want them to like get smudged with a bunch of makeup. But we'll see, you know, you can't really control these things with dewy foundations. So far I like it. It's definitely natural foundation, like I'm just gonna say that. It's not like full coverage, not a whole lot of blurring going on with the foundation itself. Oh, I do wanna say, if you guys are wondering what's on my eyes here, this is the Balm What's the Tea palette, and this is the Iced Tea eyeshadow palette. So if you wanna see the little tutorial for what I use, you can check out my Instagram. If not already, it's gonna be coming in the next day. Oh, and like always, I'm gonna be doing a wear test for you. So I'm gonna be checking in about 6 hours so you guys can see how this all holds up. Okay, so I will see you in a bit. Okay, so here we are 7 hours later. I want to give you my final thoughts. So let's just take a look at this. You know, I have not touched up. I have gotten a little oily right here and in my T-zone, but this is not bad. This is pretty good. Remember, I did use that mattifying primer from CoverGirl, which I think is bomb and contributed to not having to touch up. Now, I'm gonna say, as far as the finish of this foundation, I feel like I've seen better. You know, it's $48. That's a lot of money. I would love to have seen some blurring action in this actual foundation. I feel like it does very little of that. You know, it just kind of sets on the skin, looks really natural, but you know, for those qualities, there are a lot of other more affordable products that give you a better bargain and better results. So that's just my personal preference. Maybe some of you guys that really love high-end products might not mind paying that price for a very natural, dewy finish, like a light beat. You know what I mean? In terms of any separation, very minimal separation. Definitely, like, you can see my smile line. Nothing that I need to touch up on. It's just like, you can see it, it's there, but it's not like, damn, like, look at her smile lines, you know? I do suspect that if I did use a pore filling or wrinkle filling primer, that would probably make it better and look more like smooth and filtered. Something like the Tatcha Silk Canvas, like, that would be a really good candidate, I think, for this. But keep in mind, the Tatcha Silk Canvas does really make that pigment pop, so it might make the pigment of this foundation pop even more. So you just have to be careful and make sure that that's gonna match your skin tone or whatever, if that's something that, you know, you're concerned about. If I had to rate this foundation out of like 5 stars, I'd probably give it a 3, because it's decent, but not something that's enticing enough to make me wanna like go and purchase a couple bottles. You know what I mean? If you guys enjoyed this review, don't forget to check out my high-end foundations playlist. You're gonna find some really bomb ones. And if you're more of a drugstore diva, then check out my drugstore foundations and concealers playlist. I love you guys, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!